Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris on France 24. Now it's time to find out what's going on in the blogosphere, in the press, and everywhere else here in France with James Creedon. It's time for Media Watch. Good evening, James. Now, question for you, James. If you're an American politician and you're running to lead the Republican Party in this year's presidential race, is it good or bad to be a fan of France?
Well, I thought I knew. We thought we knew, but it seems to be getting a little bit more complicated. So we remember back to the days of John Kerry, the fact that he spoke French and drank French wine was not popular. And now it turns out that Mitt Romney was recorded several years ago in a video speaking French.
Actually speaking French.
He was attacked for that, by his Republican opponents.
It was a dreadful shock to many people.
So, it seems to be, especially for Republicans, this is not a very popular issue. It makes you look a bit liberal, a bit lefty, liking all these sort of European things. You don't want that if you're a Republican candidate. It appears.
The last thing you want.
Well, now it appears that not Mitt Romney, but his rival Newt Gingrich, who spoke to E-Télé, appears to love France, loves French wine, has lived in Paris, etc., etc. Let's take a listen to what he told E-Télé in the last 24 hours. Very surprising stuff.
When I was a child, I lived in Beaugency-sur-Loire. I went to school in Orléans. My mother took me to Paris when I was 15, and I fell in love with the city. And my older daughter ended up as a au pair just south of Paris. So I love the city. Callista and I adore Paris. I think it's one of the most romantic cities in the world.
Oh la la, Monsieur Gingrich,
But Monsieur Gingrich, what are you talking about? Because just 1 month ago, Monsieur Gingrich, you supported the attacks on Mitt Romney. There were attack ads on Mitt Romney, and one of the points of attack was the fact that he speaks of French. Let's take a listen. This is very inconsistent from Newt Gingrich.
Massachusetts moderate Mitt Romney, he'll say anything to win, anything. And just like John Kerry,
Laissez les bon temps rouler.
he speaks French too.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Mitt Romney.
I think I preferred John Kerry, laissez les bon temps rouler. It was kind of a nice little, if you speak French like that, you kind of got to vote for somebody,
he had
really.
a very nice accent, didn't he?
He did.
Kerry.
So look, it's just inconsistent. We don't really know what's going on. We just saw in the bulletin, though, that Romney is to take Florida, it seems. So maybe Newt Gingrich is just sort of, he's just saying at this point,
Mix up the Spanish speakers with the French speakers, maybe.
It's all getting a bit confused. But maybe if it looks like Romney's winning, Newt can actually speak his heart and say that he does really like France because, it looks like
but you're always
Romney's
very
taking it
welcome
away.
here in France, Newt Gingrich, as is Mitt Romney.
There
now,
you go.
Let's talk about French politicians, because poor old François Hollande, he also tried to branch out and quote another culture, another language. He tried to quote Shakespeare. It went horribly wrong. It turned out it was actually Nicholas Shakespeare, the Daily Telegraph's literature critic.
It was a massive big deal last week, and everybody was laughing about it. It turns out that it was his descendant, who is a literature critic, as you said. And here's a photo of him in the Telegraph. Except we thought that we'd resolved the story.
Yes.
He misquoted another Shakespeare.
Shakespeare never had a dream.
Exactly. Except now we find out that Nicholas Shakespeare is also saying, I don't think I've said this myself.
Oh
either.
Dear.
So he's actually reevaluating.
Shakespeare's sister, the 90s band?
It's no one. It just basically doesn't exist. Just to remind viewers, this was a quote at a political rally that François Hollande pulled out from the internet, saying that, what was it again? Something about...
They failed because they didn't begin with a dream.
That's right. They failed because they didn't begin with a dream. And he said it in this dramatic style. A couple of days later, we determined it wasn't Shakespeare at all. Then the Telegraph guy comes out and says it was me, and now it turns out it wasn't him. So the mystery remains. This quote that François Hollande, with extraordinary pomp and ceremony, used during that rally, it's just we don't know where it comes from.
I don't think it's ever good at political rallies to begin by saying, now I'm going to quote...
No, definitely not.
Jambon beurre, ham sandwich. How do we go from François Hollande?
All right, okay. This is just, it's actually a pretty emblematic story in France today. The price of the jambon beurre sandwich, this is ham and cheese, ham and butter.
This is like the equivalent of the cheese plougmans or the egg and cress.
That's right. Do you know that 1 out of every 2 meals...
What is it in Ireland? What's the favourite sandwich in Ireland?
I suppose we don't really, there isn't really so much, I suppose maybe a corned beef sandwich or something like that.
Corned beef sandwich,
but do you know that in France, the baguette sandwich, it accounts for 50% of all meals during weekdays. And the jambon beurre is the cheapest, right? And it went up by almost 5% in inflation in 2011. So a lot of people are talking about that. They're saying this is the symbol, the symbol par excellence of inflation. Now, there's just one more story, Laura, I want to deal with before we leave.
Leave the
Twitter,
sandwiches.
right?
Yes.
Increasingly important for politicians, an increasingly important tool in the run-up to elections.
Yes.
Now, there was a meeting yesterday of Sarkozy with MPs. Now, usually they're not allowed to tweet during these political meetings. They've been told off, they've been wrapped over the knuckles in the past by the chief of staff of the Elysee saying, don't tweet during these political meetings. We're trying to control communications here, don't do it. Except during this meeting yesterday, there was tweet after tweet after tweet coming out of this meeting with the MPs.
Who was the culprit?
So people started analysing these tweets. Let's take a look, because remember Sarkozy gave a massive interview on Sunday across 8 different channels. So it's
announcing his
they're
economic strategy.
ratcheting up the communications exercise. All of the tweets were very positive. All of them were saying that he was in wonderful form at this meeting with the MPs, that he's in top form, etc., etc. Sarkozy en grande forme, you see. So people were saying, hold on a minute, this looks like there's been an element of consultation behind it. It's planned. And yeah, it looks like they were told, guys, get on your phones during this meeting and start tweeting. And I'll just
about how wonderful I am.
About how wonderful I am. And meanwhile, on Mashable, a tech website in the US, the Twitter's CEO has said 2012 in the US will be the Twitter election. Twitter, basically, for him, well, he is the CEO, so he's obviously going to say that, is an increasingly important tool for politicians to get their messages out there.
Oh, we can vote by text message now, so who knows? Maybe we'll be voting on Twitter.
All
who has the most friends on Facebook, perhaps, should run the world. All right, lovely. James Creedon in Media Watch. Many thanks indeed. Now it's time to take a look at what's making waves in cyberspace. Tonight's web news beginning in Israel with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu battling with hardline elements within his party. Take a look.